Dishonored 2 is the sequel to Dishonored, both games released by Bethesda Studios. The original told the story of Corvo, the Empress's guardian and secret lover. At the time I didn't put that together, but that's another story anyway. The result of the affair is Emily, a main character in this game. In Dishonored 2, you can play as either Empress Emily Kaldwin, the child in Dishonored, or her father, Corvo Attano, the protagonist, and it starts similarly as the first one. You have been set up in a conspiratorial web under the name of Crown Killer. But in this case, the enemy is your Aunt Delilah. Your mother, Jessamine Kaldwin, had a sister born out of wedlock that you didn't know about. Apparently, the sister wasn't so happy the throne did not go to her. Delilah Cooperspoon not only claims the throne under the conspiracy in Dishonored 2, but she was also in one of the DLCs for the first one. Those are all the spoilers you're going to get, so let's get to the review. Dishonored 2 is a dangerous world. Stealth is pretty important. You can't just go in hacking and slashing most of the time. You're outnumbered and outgunned, and the AI is fairly good, so losing them is not the easiest thing to do. The controls themselves are pretty easy to get used to. You have a sword to chop people up, or a variety of special powers or weapons to work with. A gun, a sword, a slash them into pieces thingamajiggers, grenades, and a variety of crossbow bolts. The powers vary, and the ones I used most were teleportation by some name and the shadow monster thing, also by some name. Ripping people secretly in half sort of had a pleasure to it, and zipping rooftop to ground to rooftop sure comes in handy. You choose your powers through collecting runes and upgrading them. Bone charms help give you certain protections and skills. You will find those with a beating heart. Yes, a beating heart. Dishonored is like that. Anyway, the game plays well, and once you get used to the mechanics, and understanding there's always another way to solve a particular problem. The game has a number of ways to do things. Go over roofs, take a more direct route, or something in between. Flexibility in gameplay is one of the features of the Dishonored franchise that sets it apart from many other games. The Shadow Monster mode, you can take a route through holes used by rats when you get enough runes to upgrade it. The way you beat the level is totally up to you, but I still wouldn't recommend going in guns blazing. Story. For clarity, I played the game as Emily, so my review on the story is based on that experience. I guess I'll have to play Corvo at a later date. You go from the real world to a dark dream where magic and dark forces are always there. It blends nicely in this supernatural world. The city is tightly built, with many layers to it literally and figuratively. I suppose it's based off very old cities in Europe that had to deal mostly with foot traffic, horses, buggies, that sort of thing. Compact cities with depth. You can enter many buildings and poke about and find some loot while you're at it. That's not story related, Don. That's environmental. Well, hold on. Throughout the game, the lore is galore. Lore galore. Books, notes, signs, so much a guy like me sort of spaces out. But if you like lore, the game is loaded with it. Dunwell has a history and a sense of depth. That's part of the story. The betrayal in this one is of the estranged aunt, or an aunt in sin, born out of wedlock. Multiple factions vying for control within this chaos. You make choices that change how the game ends. I was brutal. My revenge was brutal and unforgiving. But you could play it differently, and that's the beauty of the game. The enemy, your estranged aunt, feels jilted, and though she doesn't blame you, she resents that you exist. She was robbed of the throne, and you are the person who benefited. She explored that other magical world, and she can match you in that. She can live there. She has an army of witches that makes surviving this game rather difficult. More than 2 witches chasing you, and there's a good chance you're not going to survive. She has taken over, and her witch kingdom is your enemy. How you play the story is up to you, but the story is solid and an enjoyable ride. Visuals. I liked the design. I don't have a 4K monitor, nor is that in my future plans. I am, however, a person with an art background. Visually, I really enjoyed this game. The characters were well designed, the architecture and scenery were very nice and full. It had sort of a clutter that makes the game feel really alive. That clutter is so important for a really solid feel visually. I like the multi-layered design of the sets. It felt natural and unrestrained, even though it was pretty much a top-down adventure. I enjoyed the depth of the buildings and respect the approach the designers used when creating scenes you experience and find a way through. Solid experience all around. Conclusion. The depth of this game and how you accomplish your goals is a big thing to like. Play like a tiger or play like a mouse, the choice is yours. The character design was good and maintained the unique style of the original. So much fun zipping from rooftop to ground to rooftop to back, and creeping up as a shadow. What's not to love? You can rip them right in half, it's so cool. It's a fun play and the powers are neat. That's right, I said neat. The atmosphere and the story were enjoyable and have a lot that could be mentioned. Fast-paced or slow-paced or something in between. That's why this game stands out and I would buy it again. Thumbs up.